Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gaming News. And in today's special edition, we are covering more information about Activision Blizzard. Now, due to specific things, I was not able to publish this video earlier when some of this information was brought forward, but now is the perfect time to cover a couple of things with respect to Activision Blizzard. So, obviously, that is our topic of the day. And I would like to first start off by looking at a specific article only published on the 12th. And I feel as though it is important to take a look at. Sorry, on the 8th. Activision Blizzard employee says she was retaliated against after reporting sexual harassment. Again, this is not exactly new in that we've seen many allegations against Activision Blizzard for sexual harassment, for inequality of pay, racism, a whole bunch of other awful things that they have done. And so I'd like to cover a few things within this article. So it starts off with Lisa Bloom, a victims advocate lawyer and an employee from Activision Blizzard, held a press conference outside of the Activision Blizzard campus today. They asked that the company set up a fund for victims, review career damage done to the employee, and apologize to her. Christine, the Activision Blizzard employee who is suing the company and who is choosing not to use her last name due to privacy concerns, opened the press conference by reading a pre-written statement. In it, she said that during her time at Activision Blizzard, she was sexually harassed constantly. When she reported this harassment to HR, she said she was demoted and retaliated against. When I complained to my superiors, I was told they were just joking and that I should get over it, Christine said. I was told not to go to HR. I was told that the harassing men were just trying to be friends with me. I was told they did nothing wrong by law. And I just want to make mention of something here. If ever a company tells people not to go to HR, not to try and form unions, not to do anything, basically stopping them from doing the correct thing, that is the warning sign that you should leave. You should get out of that environment and go someplace else. And I know that's not easy for some people, and I know that for some it would be their golden ticket to be part of Activision Blizzard, but that has not been the case for many years now, regardless of if you're only just discovering this information now or if you knew about it in the past. If you are told that you are not allowed to go talk to people or go see HR or go hire people to look into matters, that is a sign that they have probably done something wrong. Now, it is slightly different when it comes to in-house arbitration and dealing with issues, and that can be very double-edged when it comes to what you do moving forward, which is that sometimes having in-house arbitration makes things easier for the company, makes things easier for the employee, but also it kind of protects them from having other people peering into their company and seeing the company for what it really is. And as I said, not all companies are going to be malicious when it comes to certain things, but more often than not, they are looking at their bottom line and they are not necessarily looking at the individual employees. And if you're hitting a wall and told that people are just joking and you shouldn't go to HR, nothing is going to get done and you should just leave and just not deal with it because nothing is going to get done no matter how much you try. You have to build up sort of a base of people around you who will help support any type of movement that you're going for. And if that can't happen, then it's not going to happen. Anyways, the article goes on, and Christine says a couple of other things, but primarily what I've highlighted is when she said, I have been denied my full profit sharing, denied shares in the company, and have had minimal raises in the 4 years I've been employed with Blizzard. And again, this is the moment where all of this should have been a red flag beforehand, and I really do feel like this person should have left the company long before they did. A profit sharing program offered by a company is meant as an investment for your staff. And what it does is you put in a certain amount of money as an employee to a pool, as does the company, and every time that there is a payout, then it should be divided evenly between all of the parties so that everybody benefits from a profit sharing situation. And if you're told that you're not allowed to participate in other ways to make additional money, run. And the fact that not only was she denied the ability to put money into this profit sharing and reap any of the benefits, but she was also denied shares in the company, which is also ridiculous to me. And then not receiving any of the raises, frankly, those should have been clear warning signs to leave the company immediately. Now, I know that many people are looking at they want to make wages and that they want to feel secure and that they want to work with some of the best, companies out there. But if you're being stopped from talking to HR and you're being denied additional pay schemes that are designed to help like all parties involved, then there is a real problem. And this is one of those points in time where, honestly, this specific person, because of these things, I really do feel like they should have left. And I feel the same for many of the people with Activision Blizzard, where some of the warning signs were there. If this behavior perpetuated often and nothing was getting done and things were being ignored, you should not lie down. You should stand up for yourself and or just leave and find another place to work that would be better suited. There are lots of other game companies that are not scummy like in this particular case. And unless you're able to bring people together like the ABK group, if you're able to get people to back your cause and stand up to the companies like Activision Blizzard, then definitely make the effort and stay and push them into a position where they can do something. But otherwise, if you're being stopped at every turn, this is not the place that you want to be. Anyways, so earlier on in December, on the 1st, I know this was quite a while, there's an Axios article written by Stephen Totilo, which is 6 state treasurers pressure Activision over misconduct allegations. And in this, he talks about a number of different things. The pressure on Activision Blizzard to make meaningful change over harassment allegations, unequal pay, and other workplace issues is intensifying as treasurers from California, Massachusetts, Illinois, Oregon, Delaware, and Nevada are calling on the company to take action. Why it matters. The game maker, which is already facing lawsuits and investigations, is now hearing from state treasurers who aren't afraid to utilize billions of dollars of investments, often through pension funds, as a way to trigger corporate change. So, one of the points made here is the call that was made earlier in November by activist shareholder group SOC. The group said Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick should resign and threatened to vote against members of the board next year. So what they're saying is, we think there needs to be a sweeping changes made in the company. Illinois State Treasurer Michael, I can't say that, told Axios. He cited accounts from the past few months involving harassment allegations and unequal pay at Activision Blizzard, as well as a November Wall Street Journal investigation that said Kotick downplayed sexual misconduct allegations at the company. We're concerned that the current CEO and board of directors don't have the skill set nor the conviction to institute these sweeping changes needed to transform their culture, restore trust with employees and shareholders and their partners. This particular case has been waiting for the board to step in and do an investigation, Massachusetts Treasurer Deborah Goldberg told Axios. A true investigation, an outside investigator. And I mean, what was it? 2 weeks ago that they said they stand by the CEO. And remember that the board of directors for Activision Blizzard, many of them working for interesting companies like Nestle and whatnot, are standing by Bobby Kotick and letting him get away with all of these heinous actions and not giving a damn about anything, even though public facing it seems to be that Activision will not stand for any of this crap and that we are not bad and what's the big deal and, all of this bullshit. Anyways, the Axios article continues. What's next is the treasurers want a meeting with Activision by December 20th. So, right before Christmas, the company's board could point to its proposed settlement with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission as a sign it is serious. It includes an 18 million victims fund and a commitment to the EEOC oversight for the next 3 years. And this is looked at as a past penalty and perhaps an admission of wrongs in the past. Now, if they do that, what happens is the other lawsuit, the DFEH, will be able to show in court that this is sort of a sign of guilt by basically resolving or trying to resolve the situation in the lawsuit with the EEOC by doling out all of this money for current and past transgressions. And this is probably going to turn out poorly if Activision Blizzard decides to embark on this and pay out that amount of money and settle that lawsuit. Now, with the treasurers, of course, Yang Yi did put together a video about all of this content, and the Activision Corporation laid off developers after promising them pay raises, which means that they are just continuing to go straight down because people at Raven Software were let go from their positions. And that is actually really bad because Call of Duty is one of their only big franchises right now that's really making Activision Blizzard money. And if you're going to lay off a whole bunch of QA testers and other people after you promise them raises, frankly, you're breaching all kinds of moral points. You're breaching contracts at that point because there are a lot of times with bigger corporations that when you sign a contract, there is sort of like a payment scheme that you're entitled to a raise after so many months or years worth of service to the company. And if you promise them raises and then lay them off, that seems very, very suspicious to me. So then we move forward to a little bit later. This was on the 9th, I believe, that Ars Technica put together an article with the headline Activision Blizzard workers announce open ended strike and union drive. So this is really cool because obviously a better ABK has helped to organize previous employee walkouts and protests because of the reports with harassment and gender discrimination. So this week's strike is more open ended work stoppage in direct response to the dismal of 12 quality assurance contractors at subsidiary Raven Software late last week. The Washington Post reports that at least 200 employees across the wider company joined that walkout starting Monday, including all of Treyarch's Central QA. Those strikers promise not to return until every member of the QA team, including those terminated on Friday, are offered full time positions, as the group put it. Activision Blizzard management reportedly told striking employees that they would only be paid through to Wednesday, according to the Post. So, employee organizer Jessica Gonzalez, who announced her impending departure from the company last month, has set up an ABK strike fund to offset strikers' lost wages and assist in the potential relocation of Raven software workers who were forced to move without financial assistance at the insistence of Activision Blizzard. As of this writing, that fund has raised over $100,000 of its 1 million goal in roughly 12 hours, which is no small feat. In a GoFundMe post for that strike fund, Gonzalez says Activision Blizzard management has continually abused, union busted, and remained apathetic to the wishes of workers. Gonzalez also specifically calls out Activision Blizzard's board of directors for its claims to remain confident in Kotick's unfit and unproductive leadership. And this is why we're talking about the ball keeps rolling down the hill, that Kotick has facilitated a lot of this environment. And even though he has taken a massive pay cut and, quote, devoted to helping the company, and, quote, I will leave the company if we cannot achieve this within a certain time. A lot of it is just lip service because they obviously are not going to pay the workers who are striking because Blizzard has let people go. And to make things worse, remember how a couple years back Activision Blizzard had the best year they had ever had, record profits, and then they laid off 800 people. And in that same week, ArenaNet laid off a couple of hundred people that was publicly known, and then we found out it was closer to, 600 or 700 people were let go of the company instead of the 200 to 300, which was mentioned in news reports. And then there were a few other companies that back to back during that week, there were a whole bunch of companies that did massive, massive layoffs. And I don't know if that was coincidence or what happened exactly at that time, but still, the idea that there are now more people being let go from the company, I mean, part of me is thinking this is good for them because now they can start anew, hopefully at a studio with a publisher that isn't going to treat them like absolute garbage. And the fact that the ABK group is helping set up a fund to make sure that people can still pay their rent and have food on the table, which is probably more than what they had before, because clearly Activision Blizzard had several reports from people stating that they did not have enough money to even buy the food at the cafeteria in the building because it is apparently not free there. So keep all of that in mind when we're talking about We need to help these people not get constantly screwed over by these companies. And this leads into a widely talked about thing, which is an Activision union. Alongside the strike, a better ABK is also actively working to create a formal labor union by distributing union authorization cards to employees. If a majority of employees sign such cards, it could lead Activision Blizzard to voluntarily recognize the newly formed union or force a formal NLRB vote on union representation among all employees. To help with that organizing drive and strike fund, A Better APK has partnered with the Communication Workers of America, which represents over 700,000 employees across a number of industries, including Ars Technica employees through the News Guild of New York. In September, CWA helped A Better ABK file an unfair labor practices complaint against the company over alleged coercive tactics to attempt to prevent its employees from exercising their rights to stand together and demand a more equitable, sustainable, and diverse workplace. The union had said that at the time. It is their right as workers to organize for a work environment free from abuse, discrimination, and sexual harassment, and this right is protected by federal labor law. So, thus, Activision Blizzard is in for a world of hurt more than they were before, especially if they get the signatures here. And thus far, that move has yet to lead to any major unionized game studios in the US or even any public campaigns for the same before today. That's despite Code lead organizer Emma Kenema telling ours nearly 2 years ago that the CWA has been helping organize game workers at a few companies we don't discuss publicly presently, and that the effort was coming further along than any previous efforts in the North American region. Now, unions in video gaming has been talked at length, actually, and I think it's about high time that we really seriously start making this work. And if you don't believe me on this has been talked about at length, I have a couple of different articles to refer to here. Kotaku published an article written by Jason Schreier at the time saying that it's time for game developers to unionize because obviously there are a lot of people in the gaming industry who are getting screwed over from a variety of different things. Then you look at in 2020, a massive telecom union just launched a new campaign to unionize game developers. And this is where the Communication Workers of America, or the CWA, was formed by the telecom workers and has launched a new campaign to help unionize the game and technology industries. And that is called the Campaign to Organize Digital Employees, or CODE, which is what we were just talking about. And the initiative is working with grassroots organizing efforts around the US and in Canada to improve working conditions among video game developers and tech workers. And this, of course, was first reported by the Los Angeles Times. So then we look further into it. Earlier in 2021, Emma once again had written something for Polygon saying how the video game industry can unionize in the wake of Activision Blizzard. So, because of the situation with Activision Blizzard and the several walkouts and the formation of a better ABK and everything regarding that, you've looked at other gaming studios that have had issues as well, like Quantic Dream has been deeply rooted in a sexist culture. You're looking at the massive expose about Riot because that was the massive 10,000 word article that was published on Kotaku, I believe, quite some time ago and still remains a point and a feature article that I highly recommend people read. We then look at a better ABK is uh, looking to help deal with the crunch and harassment issues, why it's happening, and then they had put out a statement in October that Bobby Kotick, given your visible stance to bettering ABK and the working conditions within for the benefit of your employees, are you prepared to voluntarily recognize a union formed by those workers so that they can hold you accountable to your commitments? And this goes back to what we were just talking about in the Ars Technica article, stating that even if you get this union to form, it's still going to take a lot of work for Activision Blizzard to recognize any of the demands that would be made with this union being formed. And then we look at another Polygon article published on the 15th that now North America has its first video game union at Vodio Games. And this is partnered with Code and CWA, which we have just talked about, that they have the first certified video game studio union in North America. Vodio management voluntarily recognized the union, which includes both full-time employees and contracted workers. So this was founded this year by Three's creator Asher Vollmer, with the studio's first game, Beast Breaker, released in September. The studio intends to release one video game a year. It describes its games as a cozy crunchy. They are small, intimate games that you can curl up with and completely lose yourself in. At the same time, they are games full of complex, interlocking systems that can take years to fully master. Beast Breaker, for its part, is a ball bouncing turn based strategy game that's been compared to Peggle. The company is entirely remote, with its staff of roughly 13 employees and contract workers spread across both the United States and Canada. The union, called Vodio Workers United, represents all eligible employees, more than half of whom are independent contractors. We're really inspired by what a lot of our colleagues were doing in the game industry and the tech industry and beyond. Voltage, organized workers, United Paizo workers. There's a lot going on. Vodio designer Carol Jong told Polygon, it felt like a natural next step for us to be talking about, hey, maybe we should be unionizing and help set a positive precedent for the digital games industry as well. With voluntary recognition from Vodio management, Vodio Workers United will not have to force a National Labor Relations Board vote. The group will soon begin contract negotiations to ensure a fair, equitable workplace and to lock in benefits they already have and love, like a 4-day work week. Now, this is great because if you're looking at this situation, you know that hopefully moving forward, there will be more acceptance of unionizing in the gaming industry, which is something that many of us in games media have been pushing for and talking about for several years, that this needs to be a thing. I did an article a while back for Jinx Esports TV, which I don't believe is still on the website, but it was talking about the first time esports was allowed into the Olympics at a testing sort of level to see if it's where they wanted to be and where they wanted to go. Now, the gaming industry does not need the eyes of people that watch the Olympics because of the age range and whatnot of people who watch the Olympics typically. However, what I argued was the one thing that the Olympics would provide the games industry is the fact that there would have to be specific internationally recognized rules for what is allowable in major tournaments, which would hopefully help a lot of the players not get screwed over by their team, by their colleagues, by their superiors, any of these things, and hope to recognize that esports players are also at risk of being, just screwed over by other people. They're traveling, they have to deal with visas, they have to deal with countries that may not speak English very well. Often they are young and still in high school and have to still deal with their schoolwork as well as a practice and training regimen for the video games that they're competing in at a pro level. There's making sure that you have enough money to pay the entrance fee for any of these tournaments. There's a whole bunch of moving factors that go into professional esports that people don't necessarily consider. And this is a situation where there should be some kind of union, very similar to the SAG-AFTRA is for voice actors and performers and entertainers at a pro level. There should be something like that for gamers. And the fact that we haven't been that successful in creating video game unions is scary, but hopefully, with Vodio Workers United, it will set a precedent that will show that this is needed. So, the final thing that I have out of this article is Vodio Workers United is now the first officially recognized video game studio union in North America. Its staff follows in the footsteps of other game industry workers who've made history for workers' rights. This includes Voltage Organized Workers, the Lovestruck Choose Your Romance developers who went on a 21-day strike in 2020 and won without official union recognition, and United Peso Workers and Cards Against Humanity Workers United, which made history as the first tabletop gaming unions. The video game industry has seen increased momentum towards unionization, with the video games abroad studios like Paradox Interactive Workers in Sweden and Nexon Workers in South Korea forming workers' groups. Collective bargaining and union efforts have also ramped up in North America over the past few years as studios began to reckon with accusations of workplace misconduct and unfair conditions. And who knows, hopefully, these groups will actually help the gaming industry be in a better place. But for now, we have to settle with finding out what happens with Activision Blizzard and its particularly difficult situation and hope that the rest of the video gaming industry follows suit and that it protects its people before there is nothing left. Because while the video gaming industry is doing extremely well and continues to ramp up, especially with the pandemic, having people being more at home. People are turning more and more to content creation, to streaming, to video gaming as something to do because they can't necessarily go to work all the time or there are strict conditions or whatever the situation happens to be. But if the workers in the AAA studios are all experiencing this mistreatment and this discrepancy in pay, there's no real good incentive to stay in the industry if this continues to persist. So, with all of that said, Thank you so much for being part of the Patreon. I hope that this has given some insight into the whole situation with Activision Blizzard as it continues to be a travesty and a train wreck. And please let me know of your thoughts and opinions in Discord or whatever. I am on social media, on Twitch, on Twitter. You can find me in Discord and, of course, here on Patreon. And with that, thank you so much for your patronage, and you have a wonderful day.